Hello again, this is Charlie Bellefontaine, and you're listening to the HomeBuyer's Hour on WCPT AM 820 on an early Saturday morning. Welcome. And
Good morning, Chicago. That's a reference that Robin Williams deserves. Cody Shipp with Dreamtown Realty Ship Homes is coming up on 7 years. You can call, text, email 312-450-0665.
outstanding. Ship Homes, is that a website or?
Shiphomes.com.
Shiphomes.com, and that's with two P's,
Two
right?
P's, no jokes needed.
I didn't even think of that, but now,
I did.
oh my gosh, now my brain is working in absolutely the wrong way. I apologize to everyone. Patrick, if you don't mind, give us your contact info.
Apology accepted. Find me on Instagram, Loftus_law. Find me on TikTok, Loftus Law. I am Patrick Loftus. I'm a real estate lawyer. Been doing it a long time. Not going to tell you how long. You can guess by how much gray hair I've got. Unless you're listening on the radio, then you can just imagine it. So yeah, that's it.
And if you haven't voted yet, vote, vote, vote. Joey, if you don't mind, give us your contact information and what's going on in the world.
My name is Joey Mathews, the VA Loan Nerd. You can find me at thevaloannerd.com across all social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd. My NMLS number is 1330694. You can call or text me at 630-235-2405. And what's going on in the world is, well, long story short, the markets are starting to price in a Trump presidency, which the markets don't like. Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. So we have seen a big sell-off in long-dated yields and mortgage-backed securities over the course of ever since the Fed announced they were cutting rates 50 basis points a month ago. So let's see where we were at just a month ago. We've lost just about 200 basis points in mortgage-backed securities since that announcement. Yesterday there was a big sell-off, and there was really no reason for it. But as we dug deeper into it, we did, well, not me personally, but the markets. Essentially, there were analysts. There's a word for that. Were pricing in a Trump presidency, and they believe that would lead to higher inflation long term. So they are nervous about that, which means bad for rates. So 200 basis points. In a market right now that's very compressed is going to be about 1% higher on rate. So if you were
Wait, say
3/4 to 1%,
it's going to be what?
Closer to 1% higher in rate than you were about a month ago.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. That's what's up.
I gotta go and throw up now.
You used a phrase, and my lack of memory, I can't remember what it was, but I didn't understand what it meant. Repeat the last part of what you were saying.
Compression.
That's what it was. What does that mean?
Where you
The
take
cost.
someone you like.
Behave.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So anyway, the cost of rate generally. So in a normal market, rates, when you're looking at buying a point, you're going to get a quarter better on rate. That's a general rule of thumb, right? In a normal market, over the last few years, we have seen significant compression where we have had times where a point buys a full percent. Okay, so that means that the cost of each 1/8 in rate is very close to each other. So the cost to buy down rates is very low. But when you're dealing with a compressed market, when you lose 200 basis points, right, rather than that would be essentially the cost of a rate being X. You add 200 basis points to what that was a month ago, and that's the cost to get that same rate today. So 200 basis points is equal to 2% of your loan amount. So if you have a $300,000 loan and your base rate was 6.5 last month, it would cost you $6,000 to get that 6.5 again today, right?
That's a big chunk of money.
So
Depends.
that's where we're at.
No, I guess it does depend. So.
Everything is relative.
Moneybags Bellefontaine's got that just in his couch cushions. Me, I mean, I gotta
Not
sell
all
plasma.
3 cushions. Only one cushion I have money like that tucked into. And what are you talking? Get out of my glove compartment,
This is
Cody.
guy.
What
He's
the heck
got
are
a
you talking
3-cushion
about?
couch, man. Fancy.
Yeah, it's I live on the high end. So What is it? I mean, Cody, what is? I mean, everybody's worried about the real estate market right now. It's
Yeah.
it's switching over from, a solid sellers, and I think it is still sellers. But nationwide they're saying it's coming to neutral. But I don't think that's happening so much here in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's tough, right? And I've said this multiple times on here. Chicago is a market none like any other. We don't see the peaks and the pits that a lot of other markets in California, New York, Florida see. If
They
you're in
are
Florida-
far more volatile.
Yeah, very much so. And if you're in Florida, I am really sorry right now, but
Yeah, they're getting hurt.
bad. But what I will say is, demand is still there. I've got probably 15 to 20 active buyers right now that are just chugging along, waiting for a perfect property to come along. And sometimes you're not going to find perfect in a market like this. You're going to find good enough. And I know that's not what somebody wants to hear, but it is what it is. It's
But
just
then you make it your
shortages.
home.
Yeah.
But you
do
got to.
whatever.
If you don't get in the game, it's not going to get easier. I mean, it's not going to get cheaper. It's everything. I mean, if it does, it's going to be short wind like 2008. During that area. But then all of that stuff recovered, and we're back over what those numbers were.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really interesting to see is that everybody right now, and I'm an expert, blah blah blah, but everybody is an expert right now on the prices are going to go up, they're going to go down, and it's like you don't know. You were the same person that said in 2020, I wouldn't buy a house right now. So
Did they really say it like that?
oh, Charlie.
I like the way you mock. I hope it's not me.
Oh, I wouldn't
No.
buy a house right now. Thanks, Eeyore. Yeah.
Eeyore.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a good Winnie the Pooh thing. I remember my daughter won a prize. See, look at this. This is where you know that your brain is going away because you flash to, 100 years ago, and we were in Disney World, and there was what's the name on top of Winnie the Pooh's door, and it said Mr. Sanders, and my daughter knew that, and she won a big prize. So I didn't know that either, but she's smart when it comes to Winnie the Pooh. But going back to the market and everything else here, when I look at, I like to follow the trends. And I am just a nerd when it comes to the stats and everything. Yeah, I'm trendy. And I found that from this month, or I should say last month, September 23 to this September 24, they're saying there's only 30% of the properties on the market. So we're short, a third of what the inventory was last year. I mean, I'm not really a financial genius, and Joey, you could chime in on this, but it's supply and demand. If there's no real supplier that gets shrunken up, well, then the power goes to the sellers.
It assumes that you're even going to
right.
put people are going to participate in the market.
Right.
If someone's already got a place to live and they look at the market and they go, I don't like that, they'll just stay out.
Prime example, right? I've said this. I'm in the market for a 2-flat, 3-flat right now, and there is nothing, and I'm perfectly fine staying in my cheap little condo that we gutted for the
It's
next.
not a cheap condo. It's a lovely condo.
It's a lovely condo.
It's cozy.
It's cozy.
Yeah.
What
Cozy-
What
cozy's
other words do realtors use to describe
Quaint, charming, sun-filled.
Sunfilled?
Yeah.
Well, I got a whole bunch of words and what they really mean on that. That's part of that book
How does an
that I'm
inspector?
trying to write. Yeah, exactly. And it's always stuff. Yeah, I will tell you this. There is, I think it's Woodlawn, and I get it. It's still a rough area, but it's getting better. And I got a feeling that's going to be one of the new gentrified areas. But there's a builder down there that I'm completely enamored with.
In
all
a good
right?
way?
In a good way.
Okay.
And Patrick's going to roll his eyes on me real quick. So they're building 2 flats, since you're looking that way. They're building 2 flats down there, single-family townhomes as well. They're not running any sort of gas lines to those houses at all. They're 100% electric, all right? They got solar panels.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I know, this is where Patrick rolls his eyes. They got tons of solar panels on the house and the garage. Basically, they're net zero. And the only thing they're paying, their electric bill is like $15 a month for a connection fee. They're creating enough power that, from everything else, the heat pumps that are in there will work all the way down to negative 25 degrees. And then they have electric heat backup in case a polar vortex comes back in here again.
You know what they don't have? Quality cooking environment. You can't cook well with with a standard electric range.
Yeah, I can't stand those. The
You
worst.
two are, man, I was going to say something derogatory and sexist. My wife likes gas,
Same.
you know, when it comes to the stove. No ifs, ands, buts about it. But you talk to the people that are used to induction cooking, and they love it.
Yeah.
You know, and this thing does have induction cooktops in it. It has a heat pump dryer, clothes dryer. I never even heard of this until I saw it there first. And then I had to do a whole bunch of research on that. And yeah, I am getting giddy.
Is it good? I've
It
always heard that.
works. You don't even
Yeah.
vent the air to the
no,
outside.
No, that's not the question. Is it good?
What do you
Just the
mean
fact that it
good?
works doesn't mean it's good, Charlie.
What are you talking about good? It's supposed to dry the clothes,
All right.
you know?
Jeez.
And you don't have to worry about cleaning your lint thingy,
Wow.
you know?
Your lint thingy.
Yeah.
Well, the transition duct, if you want the correct term.
Thank you.
I'm here for you. Joey, come on, chime in. Tell me, back me up on this one. Go all electric.
I mean, if you got an electric car, I'm on the team. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'd like me some gas. Oh man, sorry, I'm a gas man myself.
We've known that about
But
you.
Charlie, I love you. Right? That's good.
I don't know.
Hey, I mean, to each their own. If you can figure out good cooking with electric, I mean, hey, rock on. I was never able to figure that one out. I had a lot of hot spots, a lot of problems doing that the stovetop cookings.
Charlie's
So-
a big air fryer guy. You know,
Right on the
that's
counter.
That's his. That's his.
I do have one.
Oh God.
Yeah, I got it at Costco. Sorry, Costco, I don't mean to, but I really like it. It's a flip-up thing, and that is like the greatest thing in the world.
What do you
Well,
mean
it saves
flip-up?
countertop space.
Oh, it's one of
I
those.
think it's made by
Okay.
Ninja or something
They
like
all
that.
are. Everything is. Yeah.
What?
I don't like it.
I don't like them either.
Well, it doesn't like you. So
I'm
fine.
against it.
Yeah, well, you too. You know.
Yeah, you know, I wish I could have the last 5 minutes of my life back because, you know, honestly, to hear all you trying to evangelize in favor of all electric everything, what happened in moderation?
Yeah. All
know?
eggs in one basket's real dangerous, Charlie.
You're right. You end up giving the power to the electric company then, and then, I mean, that also comes into supply and demand.
Okay, he's gonna start talking about solar panels again.
I am. You know, it's like everybody's buying the EVs. There is a big, you know, influx of EVs. I think all four of us
We are.
Yeah,
on the show today all have electric vehicles,
I know,
some more than one.
I'm trying to kind of chucking rocks from a glass house at the moment, but
And but no, seriously, that is going to use more electricity, and the rates do vary, you know, so they are going to go up when it comes with it. And so the only way to counter that is to, you know, start producing your own electricity. So yes, let's go solar.
Is this the modern day like farmer? These solar panels? Charlie's talking like he's growing his own crops.
I am
He's
growing
like,
my own.
I've got
it's
my own
pennies
panels.
from heaven if you're religious. All right, that good old son just keeps dropping the money in there, baby. Keep
Yeah.
it coming.
Charlie watches a lot of those networks where, you know, if you've ever, I don't know if you've been following some of the severe weather down in Florida, but it seems that there are some companies that want to get on and advertise like the big bucket full of like food that's going to sustain you for like 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is.
They sell that at Costco too.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm glad you said that because I'm thinking the way Charlie's talking right now, I feel like he's like early stage prepper.
Yep.
And
I think we got on this last time too.
he's like
I
off the
think so.
he's gonna be off the grid soon enough.
But
you
he
know?
owns his own grid technically with these panels that he's created, so he's going to have a nice little backup generator.
Well,
I see
it's
what you're
not that
doing.
big. I got a lot of big trees, so I couldn't put that big of a system on my garage. But yeah,
He's
I
gonna
got
be
it.
like Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, where he puts a big dome over Wilmette, and
Yes.
he's the only one that can provide electricity.
You could do that. Seriously, you could do
I mean,
that.
if it's the
I'm
person,
in.
yeah.
I mean, Moneybags Bellefontaine, you know, the world's your oyster. The sky's the limit, if you will.
But all that stuff is changing. You know, right now what makes solar really good is the net metering, and that's the one thing in Illinois that is going away. All right.
Good.
I shouldn't say it's going away, but and this isn't really confirmed yet, but it's starting January 1st, 2025. It's going to go from a 1-to-1 net metering. In other words, every kilowatt I produce and store through the electric company, I get back for free. Now it's going to be 2-to-1. All right, so I have to give them 2 to get 1 back.
I'm glad our overlords at ComEd are finally getting something back from us.
I like overboards. I like that.
I don't know, man. You're yeah.
Yeah.
I got mad at ComEd so many times, and this is going way back when I would actually write a check to pay my electric bill, and I wrote the check out to Communism Edison. I wrote the check out to Comical Edison.
They cashed it though, didn't they?
They cashed every single one of them. You know, it was amazing. I'm like, come on. You know,
Charlie's going through the dictionary. What's the C word I'm going to use next?
and we didn't have ChatGPT to come up with the source words. We actually had to open a thesaurus up to come up with those words.
I'm
you know?
overwhelmed with the boomer energy that is being like.
We are
that's
boomers.
coming.
Hear us roar.
Oh my God!
All right, all you
We've been
whippersnappers.
hearing you people roar.
You people.
My whole life.
You
Wow.
people. Unbelievable.
I'm boomerist.
You are a boomerist.
So sick of
Yeah.
boomers and we're the biggest generation. We boss everyone around. You know what?
We don't boss anybody.
You know what? You'll
Oh, Charlie, that.
Stop
okay.
saying that. And you're being
Man.
argumentative now.
I'm extremely proud of myself for not violating the standards rules as far as the language I'm allowed to use after you said that boomers aren't bossy. My God, that's y'all's like core like quality.
They're
And
just the best, and they know it. You know, it's okay.
everything was better when
They didn't have avocado toast back in the day, so they
could afford a house.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, Joey.
I actually like
Isn't that the
avocado
first, Joey? Let me ask you this: the first piece of advice you give your clients after don't buy a Carolina lean. I did look that up. That is the one where like the nose is way up in the air. You probably you
What
can't
is a
see a single
Carolina- what
you
is-
can't see a single pedestrian with your truck
Oh yeah.
in this
You can
configuration.
run over whatever you want, and it's okay.
Yeah,
What is a Carolina
yeah.
lean? Sorry.
So a Carolina lean is where you get one of them trucks, right, and you lift it, but the front end is lifted way higher than the back end, and so you're just looking off into the sky, mowing down kindergartners left and right.
Add that to our live Facebook here. I'll just add a picture of it.
Unbelievable.
this is not.
Mowing down kindergartens. That's kind of a dark place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can't see nothing.
There's little. Sorry, now I'm giggling. I shouldn't be laughing at that.
Yeah, terrible.
I am evil.
It's almost like the same as those cyber trucks where you can't see, anything that's 30 feet in front of your truck, and God forbid anything, find itself in that zone of danger.
Joey, have you had to have anybody pull you out yet? Like out of a ditch or?
No, sir. I will never, ever, ever drive in a way that I end up in a ditch. I'm too afraid.
Okay.
Oh, the most honest thing that's
appreciate
come
that.
out of Joey
I
about
appreciate
that
that.
truck.
I would
I'm
drive
so
out there
happy
to
to
come
hear
and
that.
pull you out just in case you did, but it would take way too long
Yeah.
recharging going
Yeah.
that far.
I could just see, he would have someone videoing it just so that he can put it and shame you online. Look at this F-150 Lightning pulling out the Cybertruck from a ditch.
Unbelievable. So,
He's sick of us. He's turned us off.
no, it's not that far. It's more like, how did we go from 10% price increase in Chicago to making fun of Joey's Cybertruck again?
Solar panels.
'Cause
You know,
It always goes
Well,
back
we
to
did
solar
go
panels.
back to the solar panel.
Yeah,
and
you
then to there.
you're like, there's this builder that's installing all these electric things, and I
I'm
love
being
it.
mocked right now.
So
A little
annoying.
bit.
A little bit. So,
I mean, but that's the thing. Yeah, I think what we were talking about, Cody and I, is basically, yeah, you've got supply and demand, but it's not as inelastic as say supply and demand for gasoline, right? If you own a gas engine, internal combustion engine vehicle,
those people.
shame on you. You ought to be moving over to the EV world, the promised land, if
Or
you
at
will.
least a hybrid,
Something, but
With solar panels.
if you, oh God, shut up. if you are, let me try to make a serious point for once. But if you need gas to go and you got to go places, the supply and demand is real. You are going to be a slave to it every time you got to go fill your tank up. Whereas if you've got a place to stay, it might not be perfect, but if you don't like what that market for homes looks like, you can just choose not to participate. And I think that's what a lot of is going on. And I think, and I'm sure Joey can chime in on this, people are looking somewhere out over the horizon, and they're seeing the potential for lower rates. And it's keeping them stuck in place because they it's the same thing as when you've got deflation in an economy where people look at spending money, but then they look at it and they go, I could spend the same amount of money and get something for less sometime in the future. It freezes you in place. There's something in our core, in our operating system that sticks us in place unless we're able to overcome sort of that base instinct. And as often as not, most of us have a hard time or are unable to overcome that base instinct. And so we've been predicting, and we'll see whether this comes true, but when the rates come down, it's going to be a tsunami of buyers and probably sellers as well. But
you really think so?
Those prices are not going to be too kind.
You really think the rates affect the buyers that much?
Yeah,
I do.
You guys are both saying
in the
Joey?
sense that I think the conventional wisdom is that rates are high now and they're going to be lower sometime in the near to mid future. I think that mindset, if it were the other way around, if it were rates are high but they're only going to get higher in the future, I think people would have the opposite. That would have the opposite effect on people.
And that I would agree with. I know in our business, when I start seeing the rates going up, that's when our phone is ringing off the hook. All right, it's like, I want to get in now, got to sign this contract and that. But in this situation, I'm kind of just the opposite. If that's really true, what you're saying is that if the rates go up, that slows the home buyers down. To me, that gives me power as a buyer. And that takes away a lot from the sellers. And that's the time to buy. And I don't know, the rates all go up. They all go down.
I would say it slightly differently. I think that it's not so much what the rates are today that is informing buyers' decisions. I think it's the expectation of what they're going to be at some point in the near future. And so, in a market that wasn't rocked by a global pandemic less than 5 years ago that is still trying to recover. I mean, the pendulums are just swinging in such weird directions compared to what I'm used to. I've been doing real estate law 20 years, so I've seen the Great Recession. I saw what happened between, let's say, 2012 and the beginning of 2020. That's what, to me, is a normal market, quote unquote. From 2020 March through today, none of it reflects what is normal to me in my eyes. And so we're still, I think we're still experiencing the aftershocks of what happened there. And so because it's not easy to predict in terms of what's to happen, people are sort of, because there's not a lot of consistency with rates, inventory, the market, whatever you want to call it, it is causing people to just say, look, what I have now is safe and secure and certain. What I might have if I were to venture out might be better, but also it might not.
How much of this is also just like a generational thing? So you've got two generations, sort of, I guess, that are fighting for the same thing. You've got millennials that are fighting for what, no offense, Charlie, but what boomers have. So, like, I don't foresee any of this getting any better until you've got an entire generation that liquidates what they have. And, we've talked about this as well, but when you talk about new construction, I don't think new construction's ever going to catch up to demand. And I think you need those homes that are already built to become a part of the equation to fix what's going on. And I don't foresee that happening. I think this is just kind of the issue, and I know I'm going to get flack for that, but, like,
No, I think
you're spot on.
I think there's certainly some truth to that observation.
It costs more to build a new house
Yeah.
than it does to buy a used house.
100%.
Well, and at present that's true, and that's part of why my preferred candidate is talking about tax incentives for builders to build things.
But that's another problem too. When I had my house built, our taxes were based on the price
Right.
that I paid for the house at
It's
that
different
time.
taxes. Different taxes. I'm talking.
That was property tax.
No, that's not the kind of tax incentive. The federal government doesn't have any sway over property taxes. None of those taxes go to the federal government.
Right.
Those taxes go to mainly schools here in Illinois.
I'm with you on
But
that, but that's
what I'm
still
talking
money
about
that
is-
came out of my pocket.
I'm not talking about you.
Okay.
You are not the
You're talking
target
about
of those tax
developers.
incentives.
Well,
I'm
doesn't
talking.
the world revolve around me?
Yes.
Thank
Well,
you.
yours does.
One right answer.
And that is exactly what I would expect a boomer to say. Is the world revolves around me. Anyways, no, it's to incentivize builders to meet an unmet need in the market, right? If we have a need for 500, 1,000, 10,000 homes priced under 400,000 or priced under 300,000, and there's no way to break even to make a profit or even break even, that need will go unmet, and that's part of where government policy can step in to help the market meet that need that's being unmet. It's one of the it's one of the failings of
When
a
was the last
market
time
economy.
we saw that?
Say that again?
Have we seen that before? I'm not familiar with this. I mean, I've been in this 7 years, but I haven't seen where the Fed steps in and says, we're going to subsidize these costs or give tax incentives to these developers.
I mean, to my knowledge, that's not something that's happened, at least in my recent memory. I would compare it, if not for the fact that you can deduct your the interest on your primary residence mortgage, a huge number of people would not be homeowners who are homeowners, and
Right.
so that policy is in place, not because we want homeowners to be able to pay less in taxes, but it's an inducement, it's an incentive, it's a policy decision that's meant to pave the way to make people make a different decision than they might make otherwise. Same with the $7,500 that I got, and probably you got when you buy your EV. I probably don't make the decision to get an EV, save for the fact that the entirety of my down payment was $7,500 from Uncle Sam. Thank you very much. So all
I'll
of those
confess that what I chose was because of that, but
Yeah.
you're
all
right.
of those electric appliances that you're talking about that this builder's installing, there's probably some element of that they want to advance the ball and make things more to be able to market the fact that you're selling a carbon neutral product is something that's a benefit, but they're probably not doing it without incentives that are out there
sure.
for installing all electric appliances in a new build, as opposed to doing what they would always do, what they're familiar with.
I think one of the things that I'm concerned about is the fact, and maybe this is 20, 30 years down the road, but one of the issues that I'm seeing is all these places that are being built, and I don't think anybody really talks about this, they're not condo buildings. They're all, from what I've
Apartments.
seen, it's all apartments. And this doesn't fix the issue for 20 to 30 years until those have been capitalized and rented out and then converted to condos.
Yeah.
So, you can say that things are being built, but in reality, it's not benefiting homeowners. It's benefiting developers that are going to rent out these and probably put it into a portfolio piece.
Well, let me propose an alternative. So there's a couple of things going on there, I think. One is I think that builders will build whatever they can get financing to build, and it's a lot easier to pitch to a bank. I'm going to I have this business called build an apartment building and rent out the units. A bank looks at that and they go, seen that before. I'm familiar with it. We've made money off of this kind of business before. Absolutely, we'll loan that money. Whereas they look at the deals they financed 20 years ago, which were condo, and they go, I don't know. We're bankers. We're super conservative. We're really only interested in financing stuff that we're used to financing, familiar with. We know we can make money on. But also, those apartments are still offering inventory for people to live in. They're freeing up other places to live in. I actually did a piece of content about this a month or two ago, where you look at a 200-unit apartment built in River North, and you go, who exactly is that meant to benefit? It's certainly not meant to benefit anyone who is in jeopardy of losing their housing or whatever. But once you have 200 additional units occupied, it means, unless all 200 units were occupied by someone coming in from out of town, it means that somewhere else in town a unit of housing has been opened up for someone else to live in. So in a roundabout, sort of indirect way, those housing units are benefiting the overall inventory of homes, thus benefiting eventual homeowners.
I've heard this concept, and I know this isn't the proper term for it, but trickle-down housing, right? Where it's you take the high-end house that frees up the second home the moderately priced house, which then frees up the entry-level house. So like it all starts from luxury housing, and I don't know if that's accurate or not. I would think it makes sense when the economy's good. When you're in a rough economy, I don't know that plays, but
a couple of studies I read, indicate that the theory has some merit. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I'm a subject matter expert on it just because I read a couple of studies, but I haven't seen anything to contradict what those studies indicated.
I'll our system, or how we what we watch and what we trend. I could tell you that right after the Super Bowl, that's when our phone starts ringing.
Yep.
And most of the properties that we're getting called for to inspect are going to be starter homes. They're smaller homes. And then typically we get into the early, like May, June area, and then even throughout the rest of the summer, we start getting these high-end, step-up homes and, big mansions.
Taxes or bonuses, do you think that plays a factor into
Well,
it?
I think people are upgrading. This is just me guessing.
Sure.
I have nothing to back this up. But I think they're upgrading. So they sell their starter home, they go buy a bigger home, and then buy a bigger home. And then it gets to the end of the year, like now, and all of a sudden we're getting a whole bunch of flips. And, the stuff with a whole bunch of problems in them.
Yep.
All right. So that's just a trend that I see. But you two were talking about, things that the government could do to make things different. And all of a sudden my mind started racing again.
Uh-oh.
And Joey, I need your help on this.
Let's go.
Well, I mean, you talk about, my grandmother, when she bought the first house that she owned, it was
out of a Sears catalog.
It may have been, but it was probably about $5,000 and took out a 3-year mortgage, and it was unheard of back then. My father-in-law paid $30,000 for his house, and he ended up with like a 10-year mortgage, and now we're up to 30-year mortgages. I hear in Japan they got 100-year mortgages, and you have to have an estate that goes with it.
Japan's economy is not doing great.
And I'm not going there. I'm just saying that it's something. And Joey, I want to hear from you. Do you think that something like that is going to be happening?
I mean, there's always talk. There's a lot of people talking about a 40-year mortgage. I don't see that as the. I mean. Yeah, I do. I think that is a good thing, not necessarily. But that's also that's just me being a boomer in my head, right? Like maybe people think, hey, as long as cost is low for me every month, that's all I care about.
I'm not liking any one of you three right now. Just saying. All right, making fun of the boomers.
No, not the intent there. Not the intent. I'm just, but. I don't like when things change, like that whole mentality, right? But you got that in the firehouse. You got that in I got that in the military. Like, maybe change is better than I think it is, right? Maybe my view of the world is not the same as younger people than me, right? So maybe that's what the market demands. I don't know, but there is talk about the 40-year mortgage, and there are 40-year terms available in the non-qualified mortgage world, non-conventional, non-VA, FHA, but they do exist. They're out there. It's just not, something that the government is behind right now.
Yeah, I got kind of too.
I've got an issue with that personally.
I'm going to think out loud here for a moment.
I'm just going to sit back and kick my feet up here. You two go.
I mean, on the one hand, affordability is going to be at the top of anyone's mind, and if you
True.
put it in front of somebody that something's going to cost them $300 a month less, and nobody, hardly anybody, but really nobody is thinking in terms of 30-year time frames. Every time I go over a mortgage with someone and I see the maturity date, I'm just like, that's hilarious.
Yep.
And that's just my mind can't conceptualize of what my life will look like in 30 years. So you turn 30 years to 40 years, I'm like, who cares? That's kind of my knee jerk, my lowest sort of self reacting to that.
I don't know if I think the same thing. Go ahead.
Well,
Finish your thought.
but on the other hand, I also think to myself, the more interest that you end up paying on something that you're buying, I mean, really a 40-year mortgage, yes, it'll be more affordable, and yes, if you're not thinking long term, if you're not particularly savvy with numbers, or you're not protective of your money, all you're going to be doing is making a bunch of bankers that much richer. And I'd rather see somebody, if I was going to whisper into my younger self's ear, and my younger self was going, I can do this 40-year mortgage thing, I'd be like, listen, young blood, I'd say, look, don't be so short-sighted that you're going to end up in the time and place when it's time to sell this thing and cash out. You're going to be so much more annoyed with yourself because you're not going to take the difference in that money and invest it somewhere. You're going to buy stupid things with it, because I know you. You're going to do dumb things. Obligate yourself, pay, do the 30-year loan thing. You're going to be a much happier camper in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years time. Take it from me. And, you're going to have a beautiful wife, and your life's going to look really good. So, it's fine. Do the 30-year mortgage thing. So I for those reasons, I think just paternalistically, and the boomer in me thinks, don't do that. Don't change.
I think my thought on it is the fact that you've got, realistically, nobody stays, maybe Charlie and Patrick are the exception of this, nobody stays in some specific location for longer than 5 to 7 years. You plan for 5 years at a time. The idea of a 40-year note is, in my opinion, only there to prolong and or reduce the price. I was first...
Reduce the price on a monthly basis.
Payment,
I
yes.
think you would have the opposite effect on prices.
I would
at
think
least in that
prices,
short period of
prices are
time
going
when
to,
they'll adjust to meet that new standard.
But I think a lot of this is strictly tied to the fact that you have so many people that lost out during COVID that are trying to stretch their budget to, I guess, maybe live within their means. Maybe I don't know if that's how they view it, but you've got so many people that
living within your means is smart.
What's that?
Living within your means is smart. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. But this is, and what you said about this 5-year stuff, that's a millennial thing. I am going to go generation on you. That's also work ethics, everything else that comes in there.
Here we go.
Nobody
wants to work
he's right,
anymore.
Because my in-laws have been in their same house that they bought.
And the same job.
But they bought it for what I could probably go out and spend on a car right now. So, like...
Exactly.
It's just not realistic. So, yes, I
but
think
that's been going on with the stock market. That's been going on with prices. We've been always on a steady incline of
up and to
inflation.
the right. Yeah.
You know, and to me, I don't know. I'm going to go back to the old DOS computers here. This was my big beef with Gates. All right, yeah, I was a Microsoft guy. I started out with the 55DX with a 1 megabyte hard drive that I'll never fill up. It's a megabyte, for crying out loud. And then all of a sudden you realize that the software gets better and your computer doesn't run the software anymore. So what do? You got to go out and buy a better computer.
Oh, you're iPhoning me right now, Charlie.
I am, and everything, and it's one and the other, and all they do is get you to keep stepping up, and the next thing I know is I got a lifespan of like 1 or 2 years on a computer, but it's not because it stops working, it's because the new software that I can't control my purchasing power idea, it goes really bad.
I think I just became a young boomer. I think I just got converted.
Look, but here's the thing about that is that's going to occur less and less, just because just about every bit of software is turning into software as a service.
It is.
So you're not really
Yeah.
running it on your computer anymore.
Sure.
You know, by and large. But yeah, you know, I'm
And you're going after subscriptions.
Yeah.
that's what everyone's about.
Yeah.
And you know that whole subscription game is fixing to change if our federal government has something to do with it.
hope they do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
One
that's a
click.
good thing.
That's great.
Absolutely, I'm
You
here
know?
for that. You know, the one click rule, which is it has to be as easy to cancel your subscription as it is to enter into it. And it's funny, in order to export, and I'm throwing them right under the bus.
I'll
You
jump
can
in
walk,
that
you can
waterway
walk
car
into an
wash.
export and you'll walk out a member, no problem. In order to cancel, you have to send a certified letter to like their headquarters in DC. That's
Yeah.
the only way to cancel. It's ridiculous.
I had the same issue. I bought a monthly subscription plan at Waterway Car Wash, and I couldn't get out of it. I just couldn't. You couldn't. I had to call up, and it got, you know, it's like, what are you doing? I want to cancel. I mean, I feel like one of those super boomers, because I am a junior boomer. I feel like one of those super boomers that when you talk to somebody that doesn't speak English, you talk slower and louder. And that's what I was doing. Yes, I did. Guilty as charged.
I'm guilty of that too. I can't.
You
I
know,
can't pass judgment on Charlie.
And I think I got it from my mother because whenever she would go, Charles, Marshall, Stephen, Bellefontaine, you get over here. Yeah, that's all my names. And I
Spell
knew
it
I
out.
was in trouble. No, she didn't spell it out.
Guys, you know, speaking of
I'm having
iPhones,
issues.
you do know that your phone has a translate function on it. It like comes native to the iOS. If you're talking to someone that doesn't speak English,
I'm going back to when I had a cord on my phone. You don't even know what a cord on a phone is, do you? I had to have a long one just so I could get privacy. I would go into the bathroom so I could talk. You
Harry
know,
Potter himself.
we
He put
didn't
himself in the
have-
closet so he could talk on the phone.
I don't.
Joey, back me up out here. Will you chime in and put these two down?
I also use a cord on my phone when I was growing up.
Yes.
You also
For,
use a
you
cord
know,
to charge your car
while.
too. So, congrats.
I also use a cord. Hey, but so does Charlie. So does Charlie.
So do I. So do I.
There we go. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
We all
this
evolved.
one really went off the rails today, huh? We've had a lot of fun today.
I am always
this
off
is-
the rails.
Have we even gone around the horn?
Who
no,
cares?
we haven't.
This is
I don't know if
this-
we want to today.
This is the show that I would do every week. It's just about, you know, everything I want to talk about, which is usually not real estate, because forget it. Who cares?
I'm all about. We can switch over to cheap flights anytime you want.
No,
you know?
no, I don't want to talk about that either. I do that enough on TikTok. I'm much more interested in talking about why the boomer generation is ruining everything.
Well, Joey, let me tell you how this boomer thinks, and I want you to tell me why I'm right or wrong. All right? I hear what you just said, that rates are going up, and I feel that that's going to give me a better deal in purchasing power. And I would rather buy that house now with a higher rate, knowing that it's going to, well, I should say knowing, assuming that it's going to come down and refinance. So, A, tell me if that's a stupid plan, or B, tell me if it's unrealistic that comes into play, or is it harder to get a new mortgage or refinance mortgage?
That's a great question.
I'm going to sit back here and kick my toes up again.
Refis are easy. That's why so many people flood into the ML mortgage loan originator world when a refi market comes around. In fact, just like a month and a half ago when we had that 3-day refi boom, I got like 7 calls from people like, "Hey, I was wondering if I could get in this mortgage world with you." I'm like, "Dude, no, not happening. I'm not going to let this happen again." But, bro, it was ridiculous.
That is funny.
Dude, so yeah, refinance mortgages are much easier. They're cheaper in general in Illinois, at least. In some states, they're more expensive. Florida, in particular, because they charge a transfer and intangible tax on every single mortgage it's originated, whether it's a refi or a purchase. So it really has to be, the juice really has to be worth the squeeze in Florida. Illinois, wicked easy.
I like
Indiana,
that Florida
wicked
orange
easy.
juice pun. Yeah, the
Hey,
squeeze.
You're welcome. Love Goofy. Yeah, it's a lot easier to write a refi. And my personal, in fact, in that 3-day boom, there's so many people that bought it 7.5, 8, whatever the rate was. They're now taking advantage of that equity they have. Some people dropped PMI. All of them dropped payment and rate, and it's that self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm like, hey, buy now, rates can drop, and when they do, you'll have the ability to refi. I mean, we're not going to be in a decreasing value situation, I would say, for a while, until some builders decide, hey, we're just going to build everything and recreate an old problem.
Well,
Yeah,
Nostra Charlie is going to say that 2028, all right, turn the recorders on, everybody, so that you can hold me to this.
Okay.
2028, we are going to have a drop in the real estate pricing.
I disagree.
That's fine. And I'm basing that off of remembering what happened, and you two will make fun of me. Remember what happened in 1988 when the rates
Nope.
or the house prices dropped? 98, 08, 18.
Oh, you're basing this on just
history.
He
My history in home prices, I've noticed that on the 8s, the prices go down. So I'm sticking to it.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know where that.
I just got laughed at.
I don't know where that 2018 thing is coming from because I don't recall there being a big drop in
18 was
in
a
prices.
weird year, though. I feel like 18
There was a
weird
drop.
year.
18 was a good year for me.
Now you're acting like a boomer.
This
for
isn't
me.
this isn't talk radio where you're doing traffic and weather on the 8s, Charlie. This is
We don't listen to that
this
station.
is real estate, and I look at least here in the Chicago area, and I want to make the point, and we make it all the time, but it's we probably have a new listener or two who haven't heard me say this, but real estate is extraordinarily local, and so whereas you might have an excess of inventory in Austin, Texas, for example. It's unlikely to happen here in the Chicago area, at least closer in, and certainly in the city, because all you really can do in terms of developing additional units of housing in the city is infill, and that's pretty limited.
Otherwise, you're moving far away.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I mean, if you're talking about Kendall County, you got to maybe not Plainfield anymore. That's probably the ship has sailed as far as.
There's a lot of people in Plainfield now. Yeah.
Sure, Aurora. I mean, go out to like Oswego. Go
Yorkville.
northwest to like Crystal Lake. As far west as like West Chicago or whatever is farther out west than that. But yeah, sure. You can buy a farmer's field and put up 2,000 homes, 2,500 homes, and sell them probably pretty easy.
I
At
think
this
a lot
point
of
in
that's
time.
contingent upon where work is going to be at that point, right? Because
Well-
if this work from home phenomenon goes away, like I think it might, are those people going to want to travel and commute that far?
Some
I
people
think
will.
It has a lot to do with the bang for the buck too.
Some-
And I'm
sure,
only going to talk
sure.
about my decision making. All right. So I lived out in the Plainfield area. We bought new construction out there, and we got a very big house. I wanted to have the American dream, and it was a pretty good price,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of my neighbors, did exactly the same thing. And then all of a sudden, our 2007 comes around. Gas prices shoot up to $4.50 a gallon. At that point in time, they're still driving 40 miles, each way to go to work. All of a sudden, you're paying a $200-300 gasoline bill every week that comes in there, and everybody was starving.
Yeah.
All right, and then all of a sudden, you become gasoline and mortgage broke.
Yep.
When it comes to it, and I think that had a lot to do with what happened. And our house prices, we were at like $450 for that house at one time, and I had a short sell it at $260.
Yeah.
You
Right,
know?
right. My
It was
unit
horrible.
in my building that I ended up buying, I believe it had been under contract. It was like $450 between the unit and the parking space combined. It's somewhere in that range, between $400 and $450. I bought it for $255 after the prices crashed, and I'm sure somebody gave up a hefty chunk of earnest money when they walked away from that contract. But those are the kinds of things that happened at that point in time. And look, I don't think that is likely to happen again. Certainly not in our lifetimes,
I don't think
because
so
we're
either.
all too still, I think, sensitive to it.
Rattled, yeah.
The reverberations of 2008 still echo today. I mean, you can go online, and there are a not
It's all
insignificant
these
number of people.
millennials. They're the ones that are afraid.
There's a not insignificant
Yeah.
number of people that think we are in a housing bubble, and I sincerely do not believe that, because I witnessed 2008 and the aftermath of that. I know the factors that were at play there, and it just ain't that way today. So if you're sitting there waiting for the bubble to burst, I got bad news for you. Now, in 40 years' time, when I'm in a home and I can't tell
You mean
my right
2028.
in 40 years' time, when I'm in a home and I can't tell my right from my left shoe. At that point, maybe again, because everyone, will have forgotten history. But
And we're on the 8th.
stop it. No, in 40 years' time, we'll be on a 4. 40,
Sorry, duh.
24 plus
4
plus 40.
is 28, not 40. All
This
right.
got
4 plus 4, 8.
Oh, I thought you said
man.
4 years, not 40 years.
Four.
I misheard you. I apologize.
yeah, you should. Outrageous.
Yeah, you
Outrageous.
do.
Anyways, we're not in a bubble. If you need an extra bedroom, go buy a house. It may not be in your perfect location, your perfect neighborhood, and your perfect everything. And that's why people do make the choice, Charlie, like you're describing, to move out to Plainfield instead of,
Yeah.
would you have liked to live in Burr Ridge, perhaps? I'm just using a nearby, more upscale, town. Sure, possibly, perhaps, yeah, you would have loved the McMansion. But, you were like, hey, I need 5 bedrooms because, I don't know, you had a quilting hobby or
Timmy's
something.
toys need a room.
And the toys need, it's silly, but people will make those choices, and that's why just go out and buy a place if
Get in the game.
if your needs aren't being met right now, and you qualify for a loan to buy a place that will meet your needs, man, go do it. Go do it.
I couldn't agree more. We are running out of time like every month. So the
Everyone
hard
listening is
question
like,
to
"Thank
ask,
God."
here we go. I'm not going to do it. Patrick, please give us all your contact information if somebody has questions, and why you're my favorite attorney.
Hey, Google me. I'm on Google. And if you are a kind person and you want me to do well and you want my life to go well,
Okay.
go and write a nice 5-star review on my Google My Business page. That would just warm my heart, and it would also, make the person who does my SEO happier, because, that makes my SEO easier when you have good reviews. I got my 51st 5-star review. I'm no Charlie with 2 million
300, yeah.
5-star reviews, but
That's not exaggerated. It's only 1,800.
for someone like me, Google Loftus Law, go write something nice about me, and I'll say something nice about you back.
Cody, give us your contact info, please.
Yeah, phone 312-450-0665. Shiphomes.com and Ship Homes on all socials.
Sounds good. Joey, please.
Joey Mathews, the VA Loan Nerd. Find me at thevaloannerd.com. Across all the social medias is at the VA Loan Nerd. You can feel free to call or text me at 630-235-2405.
And Henry took care of us today, so thank you, Henry. I appreciate you very much. And my name is Charlie Bellefontaine, and our business phone number is 312-544-9180.